Thursday, May 30th, 2019, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Before I start today, I'd like to apologize. Yesterday I said Thursday, May 29th, and it was Wednesday. I just got mixed up on the dates. Yeah, it happens. Anyway, today I want to talk about the day I realized that you couldn't trust the big banks. And this is all from personal experience. I'll talk about that first. And then I'll quickly look at what the markets are doing towards the end. For some of you who don't know, I started out my career in the financial sector back in Geneva, Switzerland in the late 80s. I got a job after university. Not right away. Sometimes people say, oh, it's hard to get jobs, millennials, go to university. But I remember back then, late 80s, I got my degree at the university in Geneva. And it took me about a year and a half to find my first, how can I say, real job, if you want to call it that. I don't like that term. But before that, what did I do? Well, I did some ski teaching in the winter, which was great. It was fun, but I eventually got a job with a small fund manager or small private bank in Geneva, and my bosses there, they were German, and started working there. And then about a year later, they said, oh, Mario, we're going to Frankfurt and you're coming with us for the Frankfurt Stock Exchange Golf Day. They knew I played golf. My bosses didn't play golf at all. So I guess the golf helped there. And it was interesting because the first day we got to Frankfurt, we flew to Frankfurt. We picked up one of my boss's friends. He used to work for a bank, and we're driving around Frankfurt and we see the big Citibank tower, and he says, well, that's Shitty Bank. That's their friend, and he worked there. So that was my first, I didn't, what did I think of that? I thought, well, he's just being like, silly, but this was back in the early 90s. I think Shitty Bank had already been bailed out by the Saudi prince, bin Walid, I forgot his name. He was arrested by MBS, but he's one of the biggest investors in Citibank still, or Shitty Bank. So that was my first, taste of that, about the banks. And I had a really nice time in Frankfurt. It's a very small city. It's not a huge city. Anyway, the golf wasn't great, didn't play too well, but it was good to, that my bosses invited me to go there and meet all the, important people in the Frankfurt financial district. But, and then, of course, I worked there for another few years. I came to London. I started out working as a futures and options broker as well. And then eventually, back in 1995, actually Citibank hired me, their futures department, Citi Futures, hired me to work for them. So I've had experience with Shitty Bank or Citibank, and I've got proof for if you don't believe it. If any of you have worked for Citibank in London, or anywhere else, they might give this to you. This is the only thing that I got that was, I think, worthwhile. It's metal with my name, so you had that on your desk, Mario Maneco, and I still keep it. So that's one of the things I got from Citibank. I worked there for 2 years, and they sold our department to our futures department to ABN AMRO Bank. So that's at the time at Citibank, I actually opened a personal account with them. And then eventually, I opened an account for a family member, which I won't say who it is. And I had power of attorney over their account to manage some of the money. And that account was with Citibank. It wasn't in the UK, it was in Switzerland. And back in 2002, I decided to buy some gold on that account because I called the person who, the banker, and I said, "Can I buy gold through you guys?" And the person said, "Yes, you can buy gold." So I bought some gold. It was in 2002, so well below 400. And then about a year later, early 2003, I called the banker, city banker, and said, I want to take, the client wants to take delivery of the gold. And then they said, well, we'll have to come back to you and see that. And then they came back and they said, no, we can't deliver the gold. It's, you can't, if you want, you can sell it and take, sell the gold. And I said, no, I want the gold. And they even asked, why do you want the gold? And I said, well, because it's the person's gold. We bought it. And they said, and then I was pretty, I wasn't too happy about it. And I said, I need to meet your boss. And eventually, and they set up a meeting actually in London because Citibank, they're everywhere. And I met with these senior guys and I showed them, I said, I want to take delivery of the gold. And they said, why? Why would you want gold? I said, well, because it's ours, it's the person's gold. And they said, oh no, but this is just FX gold, foreign exchange gold. And I said, well, what if I bought dollar versus euro and I wanted to take delivery of the dollars? Would you not deliver it to me? Would you say it's, But anyway, to cut the story short, we closed the position and I actually had to go to Switzerland, and I did buy some physical gold from a Swiss bank with the money that we closed the position. So I realized then that the big American banks, they don't deal in gold. They deal in lies. They deal, you can bet on the price, but you can't take delivery. And that makes sense. I think that's probably what the US Treasury tells them to do. So be careful for people who think that dealing with the banks and buying gold through them, that you actually have gold. So I learned that lesson, 02, 03. And I even remember, when I put the order to buy the gold the first time, the banker came back, and I think she had the bullion dealer on the other side. And she said, and she was a little bit like, it was a lady, and she was a bit kind of dismissive, oh, you want to buy gold? What? It wasn't very, you could see they were kind of annoyed to do that. And she was getting stick, I think, from the dealer. What are these people doing, buying gold? Well, it turned out that it wasn't real gold. So that's the day I realized that there was something wrong with the system. And by then, I had started reading about the monetary system because I had bought gold personally for myself as well in 2002, real, coins, Krugerrands. That was back in 2002. So I realized, I always remembered that day in Frankfurt in the early 90s when the guy who worked for them called it shitty bank. And I said, well, he's not wrong. Suffice it to say, I didn't really deal too much more with Citibank. Another bad experience I've had with them, I had my personal account with them since the 90s. When I moved to this house 4 years ago, I sold my old house and I had a bit of, quite a large balance in my account, and they kept pestering me about money laundering and why do you have, that amount of money in your account? And I wrote back to them and said, well, I sold my house. I paid off my mortgage. I bought a house that was worth less, and that's why. Do you want, all the paperwork? And they kept pestering me every 3 months, and they said, oh, we're gonna have to close your account, we don't know where this money is coming from. So I actually closed my account with them, and I went back to an account I had that I wasn't really using with NatWest. And NatWest didn't ask any questions, actually. So good riddance to shitty bank. Anyway, that's my story. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. The markets, it's 8 a.m. London time, a little later than usual. Yesterday, another negative day for the stock market, albeit the markets did rebound from the lows, but the Dow still finished down 221 or 0.87%. S&P now comfortably below that neckline, finished down 20 at 2783. I think the low was 2766. In the Dow, the low was 24938. So we broke below 25,000 yesterday. NASDAQ Composite finished down 60 points or 0.79%. And Russell, or the small cap, Russell 2000 actually finished down 1% on the day. So all the major indices finished lower. This morning, right now, spot gold is down $2, 1278. The range has been 1276 to 1281. Silver, I noticed yesterday, during the day, it really spiked higher. And you would have thought, well, gold might do well as well, but actually gold went down. What was that about? Well, it could be two things. The usual bullion bank manipulation, or it could have been someone selling gold to buy silver, maybe. Who knows? I would tend to think it's more manipulation. The fact that silver was going up, they don't like it. So the only way they could keep precious metals under control is to not, go after gold. That's kind of the game they play. Right now, the Dow is up 48 at 25,162, up 0.2%. S&P is up 6.5, 2788, up 0.2 as well. NASDAQ 100 is up also like 0.25% at 72.34. Currencies fairly quiet. Cable or sterling 126.32 unchanged. Euro 111.32 as well unchanged. And dollar yen, dollar up about 0.1%, 109.75. Dollar down 0.1 versus the yuan, 692.50. Crude oil rallied quite strongly late yesterday. I think there's some data that came out on inventories. So we rallied from 57 and we're now at 59.36. It's up from the close though, 50 cents or 0.84%. Brent is 68.26, up 0.5%. But as I said yesterday, it rallied quite a bit from a low of around 57. The bond market continuing to tell not a very good tale for the U.S. economy. Yes, this morning the yields are up, which is saying that people are less worried about the markets and the economy. The 10-year yield is up 4 basis points at 227. I think yesterday we got almost down to 220. The curve inverted even more. Right now it's still inverted around 9 basis points, but we 1 month to 10-year, but we got into the double digits like 11, 12, or 13 basis points yesterday. Just wanted to talk a little bit about this Mueller statement yesterday. Robert Mueller, the special is it prosecutor? I'm not sure. Yeah, for he's resigned. He's closed investigation. He said something that everyone knew, that a sitting president cannot be indicted for a federal crime. I've seen comments, if that was so, why was he investigating the president if he knew he couldn't indict him? And a lot of people think that he was signaling to Congress for Congress to impeach Trump. So I know that all this Russian hoax is a hoax, this Russiagate. If anything, it's more like the United Kingdom, Australia, even the intelligence service in the US. They're the ones who are, creating this hoax to try to unseat a president. But this is not looking great, I don't think. No matter what you think about Trump, they're really still trying hard, I think, to get rid of Trump. I'm not sure if they will succeed. So yeah, if you are going to be dealing with these big banks, be careful, because make sure you check very carefully before you deal with them, because they're very dodgy. As you can see, Citibank or Shittybank was to me. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Make sure you share this video far and wide if you think other people would enjoy this content. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Steemit, and on DTube. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.